Thank you and welcome to my channel, Simply Your World, where we discuss past and present events that will affect you if they haven't already. And tonight I want to discuss the psychology of gang life. In my Strings of the Puppet Master series, I like to show how psychological, physiological, psychiatric, and sociological studies have been reinforced and applied over society to get a desired effect through stimulus and response. First, I want to read a few scriptures to complete the premise of this topic. Then I'm going to show a few real life events that in some way we have all lived, whether directly or indirectly, and the psychological study that started it all. So, let's get into it. The first scripture I want to read is from Ecclesiastes 1:17-18 out of the King James Version Bible. And I gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is vexation of spirit. 18. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. The second scripture is also from the King James Version Bible, Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This will come in very, very important as we get into this video. With all that being said, watch this short clip of gang life in the 80s. Then I'm going to show you, without a shadow of a doubt, the blueprint of this destructive lifestyle. Definitely, with more knowledge is definitely more sorrow. Check this out.
A hard sell introduction to the new gangs, the crack-fed gangs that are booming in America's cities. Tonight, we look at the first layer of victims, the bystanders, the people caught in the crossfire.
Oh man, it ain't nobody gonna bring her back. Ain't nobody bring her back.
A woman shot and killed near the LA Coliseum, a case of misidentification. A 13-year-old shot his father and sister killed because the boy wore the wrong color hat. A drive-by shooting in Stockton, the victim wearing the wrong colors. Countless horrors from Los Angeles to Oakland with thousands of people caught in the crossfire. So that you'll better understand what is happening here, we'll introduce you first to a group of Crips, gangbangers from the Linwood section of Los Angeles, a war zone filled with posturing little soldiers.
It's easy to Crip to me.
How important is the money?
Problem. Is it not important?
You'd be a Crip whether there was a money or not.
Yeah, that's right. Y'all think Crippin' got to do with money?
It ain't got nothing to do with money. That's protecting your homeboys. Watching out for one another. Some of y'all don't do, y'all don't watch out for. You wouldn't die for him, would you? You saying that now on TV, but you wouldn't die for him for real. I'd die for my homeboy.
Would you die?
Yeah, I'd die for my homeboy.
If somebody came up to you tomorrow, grabbed you and said, I got a job, a good job, good pay for you, would that make a difference?
Come on, let's go now.
It ain't gonna stop me from Crippin'.
But you'd take the
working
job
Crip.
too, wouldn't you?
Huh?
You'd take the job too?
I'm a Crip at work.
Oakland has the same problems, with a slightly different twist. The kids at the Thunder Road Drug Rehab Center have lived through it, are living through it.
Please pay special attention to this guy's testimony about how things escalated, because we will revisit it again as I play the next clip about the psychology of gang life and how it is manipulation at its best.
Because it has been expanding a lot. Like before, it used to just be fist fights, and I was getting into Uzi guns, grenades and stuff.
You see that stuff?
Yeah, I see that stuff.
It's not just crack. I feel it's PCP too. I mean, crack's just like PCP. I mean, it can cause death.
In this guy's testimony, he's going to speak about these certain resources. You're going to see how these limited resources play a very, very influential role when it comes to keeping gang life going.
What do you expect a young kid to do if he goes outside and he don't see nothing but dope dealers, you know, big gold chains, a lot of money, and girls, you know, you want to grow up and be just like him. But the problem is, you know, kids in the ghettos and things, they don't have no place to go after school, so they just hang out in the lots, you know. So that's what they see, that's their role model, so that's what they want to be like. I feel like the community has to band together, because that's where the solution is.
And what it takes is a shock, say the discovery of an 11-year-old selling drugs on your street.
I said, now, what are you doing, man? And he said, I'm making a living.
Manipulation at its best. Please check this out. This part of the video needs no explanation, but it will leave you speechless. Check this out.
A science experiment on groups of boys from competing camps who have no idea they're being manipulated into fighting each other. What was all that about? In the summer of 1954, a school bus with a group of 11 and 12-year-old boys arrived at Robbers Cave State Park in Oklahoma. What the kids didn't know, there was another bus. All the boys thought they were going camping. Their parents at home believed the sponsored trip had something to do with leadership. None of them knew that the camp staff were actually researchers and the boys part of a controversial experiment. One of its goals, let the boys fight each other. The Robbers Cave experiment was designed to unfold in 3 stages: in-group formation, friction, and conflict resolution. It started with in-group formation. In the first week, each group did various activities without interacting with another. The boys had fun, went swimming and did hikes. Over time, social norms developed. Leaders and followers emerged. The boys formed friendships and started inventing their own subculture. Eventually, they came up with names. One group called themselves the Eagles, and the others chose to be the Rattlers. They stenciled their names onto shirts and flags. The in-groups were formed. The tribes had an identity. They were now ready to meet each other. During the friction phase, the 2 groups came into contact with each other. The researchers set up competitions with single prizes for the winners. In other words, they established a limited resource for the 2 to battle over. It didn't take long before the in-groups developed negative attitudes towards the out-group. Prejudice became apparent. To make matters worse, the staff suggested to one group to dump buckets of mud inside the cabin of the others. Eventually, the kids grew hateful, violent, and verbally abusive. They burned each other's flags, and sometimes things escalated to the point that the camp staff had to step in. Last was conflict resolution. The boys were meant to make peace. First, the staff tried to reduce the prejudice between the groups by increasing contact and communication, but that just made matters worse. Then, the researchers blocked the valve to the camp's water tank. As there was no more drinking water, the boys became progressively thirstier. Then the camp staff suggested that they all needed to collaborate to fix the problem. Reluctantly, the group started to get to work. Before long, the boys were mixing and cooperating. There were no rattlers or eagles anymore, only a bunch of campers collaborating. When the water finally came through, there was common rejoicing. The researchers learned 4 key things from the experiment. First, individual differences are not responsible for tribal conflicts. Age, race, culture, or religion don't seem to matter. Second, hostile attitudes arise when groups compete for resources that only one of them can get. Third, discussions don't solve conflicts. Fourth, only a common goal or enemy that promotes cooperation reduces the friction. 2 renowned psychologists, Muzafer Sherif and his wife Carolyn Wood Sherif, were behind the controversial experiment and later established a theory. Realistic conflict theory explains how hostility arises as a result of competition for limited resources, such as money, power, military protection, or social status. Whether these resources are actually limited or just perceived to be so doesn't matter. Their work helps us understand the mechanisms of discrimination against outsiders, which escalates during shortages. For example, when in-groups think that good jobs are hard to find, they often try to remove sources of out-group competition, lobby for legal restrictions, or deny newcomers access. What do you think? Do tribal conflicts only arise as a result of competition for scarce goods? And if so, are shared goals and common enemies really the only way to peace? Or is the theory flawed and not applicable to adults? After all, children are easier to influence, not only to build a prejudice, but also to change their ideas again later. Share your thoughts in the comments below.
If you enjoy content like this, please like, subscribe, and share. You all have a good night.